Book of Life over here. Put this over here. This here. Done. This here. What's under here? I don't need these things here. Water. Water, 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 water. Water, 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 water. 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 Hello? Hey. Okay, thank you. Didn't know that. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning and welcome. Bienvenido. I'm Lori Douglas. I am your worship associate for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. We begin our service each week by sending an invitation to gather together even as we are scattered in many different places, especially today. I wish to express my gratitude to those supporting technology this morning, Corey and Tom, also to Jim B., our music director, and Linda, and our members of the Quarantine Choir for this morning's recorded music. Also to our membership committee co-chair, Jackie, today, who is pinch hitting as our Chalice person while we are virtual. Today we're so very pleased also to welcome back Reverend Kathy Schmitz to share her message on our screen. This service is being broadcast on YouTube only today and will be available as a recording on the Uufcc YouTube channel after the service. Your patience will be appreciated as there was a slight delay in to close down YouTube afterwards. You may wish to have a chalice available or a candle at home for our chalice lighting ritual. Also, as we all know, unfortunately, due to an uptick in our local COVID numbers, our service is only on YouTube today. We hope to be back in person in a couple of weeks. I want to thank all of those who made this difficult decision. Dennis, the reopening committee, Reverend Kathy, the board, anybody else who was involved in this decision, because I definitely know how difficult it was to make this decision. I've actually been a little cranky about it myself. I don't like change. Maybe some of you don't either. So being that we're not in person, I'm going to take the few extra minutes that we have and read something that helped me out this morning. Maybe it will you too. This is from Melody Beattie's Journey to the Heart. I didn't see one tree on the way here, hurrying or worrying. They have been here long enough to learn life's lessons well. Learn a lesson from the redwoods. Let them teach the power of patience and calm. Life goes on. Things happen. People change. Time moves along. There are stories to live and stories to tell. But we can be calm and know that all is well. You are welcome here, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background. You are welcome here to join us as we proclaim worth in our spiritual journeys. You are welcome to share with the songs we sing that uplift our very beings. And today you may sing as loud as you like at home. Those of us here in the sanctuary won't be singing. You are welcome to join us in community as we learn, live, and love together. If you're new here, please take a moment and put your name, well, I guess we can't do that. Can't put your name in the chat room, but we can say that there are 2 new people here, and if you want to let us know who they are. Your first name? Wonderful, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Yay. We have 2 visitors that are well masked and sitting in the back and came here by accident, didn't realize we were closed. So you are definitely welcome here. If you'd like to learn more about our fellowship, you can email Mary Jane at office@uufcc and visit our website at uufcc.org. And wherever you are, we're glad that you have chosen to spend your time with us. We'll now open the sacred space by turning our attention to the chalice through some words. Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern, who's a parish minister from the UU Church of Palo Alto, California, had these words. After them, Jackie will light the chalice here in the sanctuary. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. Well, Jackie will now light the chalice here in the sanctuary. Please join me in reciting our affirmation. Shortly, there will be a time to light your chalices at home. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. I invite you now to light your home chalices or candles. And we will now listen to the recorded music, which is the Unitarian Universalist Society of Laconia, New Hampshire, will be a Prelude in C major by Noel Bowden. Words today are Nurturing Beauty by the Reverend Suzelle Lynch. Our community is filled with beauty. When you open the door to greet me, that's where the beauty begins. When you share with me what's important to you, beauty is there as I listen. When we join hands to practice compassion, beauty's heart blooms like a flower. When we teach or learn to work for justice, beauty abounding sparks joy in all. Let's light the chalice for beauty now, the beauty we seek, the beauty we share, and the beauty we nurture together. Now we will settle in for a story for all ages with Reverend Kathy.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry I can't be with you in person this morning. Good morning. Great to be with you virtually. I'd rather be with you in person, but here we go. I have a story this morning from my colleague, Chris Bice, called The Beauty Contest. Once upon a time, in a little village, there appeared a sign. It said, Beauty Contest, to be held this Sunday at the fairgrounds. There will be a surprise guest judge. All the young girls in the village were very excited. I'm not sure why just the young girls. I know some old men who are very beautiful. But anyway, all the young girls in the village were very excited about being in a beauty contest. And they began to prepare for the big day. They bought new clothes and jewelry. They made appointments to get new hairdos. And they also began spending a lot of time looking in the mirror and practicing their smiles. Well, almost all the girls. There was one girl who was a poor servant. She had no money to buy new clothes or jewelry. She didn't even have enough money to pay for a new hairdo. In fact, she was so poor that she didn't have a mirror to look in and practice her smile. This poor girl could do nothing to prepare for the beauty contest. Finally, the day of the beauty contest arrived, and all the girls from the village started down the road to the fairground. On this particular day, there was a blind man standing by the side of the road, and as each person walked by, he asked, "Would you help me down the road? I am blind and cannot find my way." But all the young girls were in too big a hurry to get to the beauty contest, and they walked right past the man. After a while, the poor servant girl walked by and saw the man. She offered to help him down the road. "Where are you going?" she asked. "I'm going to the fairground," said the blind man. And so the two began walking down the road. When they arrived at the fairground, there was a lot of confusion. There were a lot of girls ready for a beauty contest, but there was no judge to be found. All the girls were shouting, "Where is the judge?" "Here I am," said the blind man. "Sorry I'm late." It was quiet for a moment. Everyone was surprised. Finally, one girl said, "You can't judge a beauty contest. You can't see." The man laughed. "True beauty is something anyone can see. A pretty face is nice, but an act of kindness for a stranger, now that's a beautiful thing." And as he spoke, he pinned a blue ribbon on the poor girl's shirt. And on the ribbon were the words, "First prize." "Don't be fooled by false beauty," said the blind man. "The next time you're looking for the winner of your beauty contest, look for someone who is kind and helpful, for the greatest among you shall be your servant." And our hymn is "For the Beauty of the Earth," offered here by your own choir.
For the beauty of the earth
Now we move to the Book of Life. We have a long tradition at Uufcc of sharing our joys, our sorrows, and life milestones by entering them into the Book of Life, which is this red book found usually at the back of the building here. These messages can be written in this book, and those at home are welcome to email their entries as long as we're not open to the Book of Life at uufcc.org. Messages should be sent no later than the Saturday prior to the service. All entries will be read by the worship associate during the Sunday morning service. After that, the messages will be actually entered in this red book. After I've completed reading, we will enter into a moment of silence, followed by a meditation with Reverend Kathy. Our book today has an entry from Alan. He says, condolences of Lisa Pilato, a visitor and friend of UU. Congrats to my other roommate's daughter getting a scholarship to Miami's Barry University. How neat. We have a couple others here. We're wishing healing for those who've been sick with COVID and the flu, which is one of the reasons that we are closed today in person. Dennis, Mary Jane, and Corey have been struggling with this, and others that we don't know. Please send them healing messages. Also, the multiple people who have had back problems in these past several months. We also are thinking in our hearts of those struggling with raising prices right now without raising incomes. And certainly to the people of Ukraine and those in Russia that are not supporting the war there. We have a celebration today also. Welcome Carol, who is back from Australia. We know somebody that's very happy to have Carol back, aside from the rest of us. All right. Now, if we want to go to Reverend Kathy, we'll have this moment of silence and meditation. Thank you.
Our words for meditation today come from Reverend Tess Baumberger. Wouldn't it be great if you could take a picture of your soul? Then, when your parents wanted to brag about you, they could show people the picture and say, "That's my kid. Don't they have a beautiful soul, all sparkly and many colored, flowing all around them?" Wouldn't it be great if we walked around surrounded by our souls so that they were the first thing that people saw instead of the last? Then people would judge us by who we really are instead of how we look. Imagine no more racism, ageism, sexism, faddism, shortism, homophobia. Imagine falling in love with who a person is just by looking at them. It would be a kind of cloaking device, hiding so-called physical faults, defects, or even perfections. I'd want it to be mandatory. Then people would work at making their souls more attractive instead of their bodies and faces. Imagine people knowing by your soul that you really need a hug. Imagine people helping each other and their souls changing color or growing. Imagine soul gyms with exercises to get your sagging soul in shape. Imagine long lines forming for soul lifts at churches, temples, mosques, and synagogues, or nature's grand cathedrals. Let us take a moment to reflect on our own inner lives before our music for meditation.
please welcome Reverend Kathy Schmitz with her sermon, A Radiant Glow. Thank you.
About 10 years ago, I decided to train for a sprint triathlon. It's a little thing compared to an Ironman, but it was big for me. It involved a half-mile open water swim, a 10-mile bike ride, and a 5K run. I live around the corner from the YMCA here in Orlando, so getting to the gym was technically easy, but what to do when I got there was a little less obvious. While I've worked out off and on most of my life, this was a whole new thing. So I engaged a coach, and I am happy to report that not only did I complete the course, I could walk the next day. We do not need to discuss my time. It was the most physically fit I have ever been, and it felt great. But I had no desire to repeat the challenge, and it was, as they say, a one and done. I didn't want to commit the time to keep up that level of training. Still, I know that I feel better when I'm tending to my physical health, and I'm glad to be back at the Y after a COVID hiatus. I go most days and I try to do different things in the course of the week: cardio on the treadmill or the elliptical, weights, core exercises, stretching. Even when I can't get to the Y, a morning stretch and evening Tai Chi are part of my routine. Now, I know that no amount of exercise will keep me healthy if I'm not taking care of myself in other ways. I need to eat well, I have to have good sleep hygiene, getting vaccinated, all those things. I also know that there's more than physical health and wellness. There's emotional and psychological health, social and intellectual wellness. Some people would include environmental, vocational, and financial health and wellness. And of course, it is Sunday morning and we are together here and a minister is talking, so we can't forget about spiritual health and wellness. That's a lot of wellnesses to take care of. I tend to find that health in one area can impact health in the other areas, which is a nice bonus. But I also find that at any given time, I'm usually focusing only on a couple of areas, and the others can tend to languish if I'm not careful. But the more I tend to my overall health, the more I tend to be kind and caring and attentive and calm and reasonable and fair and, all the things. Choosing to be as healthy as is right for our particular body, mind, and spirit in this time and place can give us a radiant glow. It can make us content and joyful, a blessing to be around. It is a way of nurturing beauty, right? Nurturing this kind of systemic health. We nurture our own beauty, the kind of beauty the little girl in the story had, the kind of beauty our meditation imagined. It's good to take stock every now and then to see how the various health and wellness areas of our life are faring. So here are some areas, again, I'll repeat them slowly and you can consider briefly how you're faring in each area. Maybe make a mental note of what might be wanting just a little bit of attention. Physical health and wellness, emotional, psychological, social, intellectual, environmental, vocational, financial, and spiritual. Now, maybe you aren't sure what health and wellness would look like in some of these areas. I mean, what does it mean? Back in the days when I was training for that triathlon, I tacked up on my bulletin board a piece of paper with a short list titled Components of Fitness. They were strength, endurance, flexibility, coordination, and balance. I don't remember the source of the list, and a quick internet search showed that there are lots of other similar but slightly different lists. But this is the one that's been on my bulletin board all these years ago, because I've wondered if those components can help us develop fitness in other areas than our physical life. Like, what would it be like to have emotional strength or psychological endurance, social flexibility, or intellectual balance, or environmental coordination? So I thought it would be fun today to play with the idea of spiritual fitness using these 5 components. Now, as a reminder for those of you who don't typically use the concept of spiritual, I want you to be able to play along. So remember that when I'm thinking and talking about spirituality, I usually mean thinking about how we are connected to something beyond ourselves. Human community, nature, the divine, the universe, each other. I also think it's important today that spirituality include our sense of self, our grounding, if you will, so that we know what we mean by ourselves when we think about being connected to something beyond ourselves. So let's think through these 5 components of fitness as they might relate to spirituality. We have strength, endurance, flexibility, coordination, and balance. By the way, once I got going on this topic, I decided that it might make a better discussion topic than a sermon topic. So I wrote a small group session, which if you want, you can have for your covenant groups or chalice circles, and I'm happy to provide it. So what is the first thing that when you think about physical fitness? When I think about physical fitness, the first thing I tend to think about is strength. Muscular strength and heart strength. So weights and cardios are my go-to. Today, yours may be your recently assigned physical therapy exercises. It doesn't matter. We each find our own place. But what would it look like to improve our spiritual strength? What would it look like to improve our spiritual strength? It seems to me that spiritual strength might translate to a strength of convictions. Am I grounded enough in my own principles, values, and worldview that I can interact with others with integrity? To contrast, a lack of spiritual strength might find me saying whatever I think the other person wants to hear. There are lots of ways we can develop strength of conviction. Learning, so many methods, discussion, engagement, experience. We can develop some pretty strong muscles, right? Some strong convictions. Sometimes I think some of us were born with strong convictions. So I also think about a quote attributed to Winston Churchill. A fanatic is someone who can't change their mind and won't change the subject. If my muscle strength equates to my convictions, I don't want to forget about my heart strength. Our second Unitarian Universalist Association principle says that we covenant to affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. How do I appropriately balance my convictions with my relationships, the rest of my muscles with my heart muscle? Often in pre-holiday services, when people are anxious about how family get-togethers are going to go, I like to remind people that they can be authentically who they are, and let go of the need to convert Uncle Bob over Thanksgiving dinner. In 1853, a sermon titled On Justice and Conscience, Unitarian minister Theodore Parker said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral arc of the universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but a little way. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I divine it by conscience, and from what I can see, I am sure that it bends toward justice. The arc of justice needs our help for sure. But just remember that we're trying to help bend it. We're not flipping a switch. We don't want to break it. So our strength can manifest itself in multiple ways as we are true to ourselves while at the same time staying in relationship. Convictions and compassion. Here's another thing that I've learned about my strength training. Afterwards, I need to stretch. If not, those muscles become rigid, sore, unhealthy. It's good to have strength, but we can only keep it if we're maintaining our flexibility. So can we commit to regularly taking stock of our deepest convictions to see if there's room for growth, adjustment, new understanding? Are there ways that we can use to get more spiritually flexible? Spiritually, I think this is one of the blessings of religious community, right? In worship, small groups, classes, and community action, we have the opportunity to try out our ideas with one another, to see how they sound out loud, to get feedback, to stretch. And our convictions are better off for it. So we need strength and we need flexibility. We also need endurance. How do we keep going for the long haul, for the bending of the moral arc of the universe that extends beyond our lifetimes? How do we have hope? And how do we manage when hope is sagging? What keeps you going? It seems to me that both pacing and attitude are critical. Pacing and attitude are critical for both physical wellness and spiritual endurance. Last month in the Easter sermon, I talked about 3 components of hope that came from Spirituality and Health magazine. I think it's a good reminder as we think about spiritual endurance, because I think that we're talking about hope. Quoting now, hope can be learned with practice. Certain attitudes support it. One is patience, an ability to tolerate delays, a willingness to let events unfold in their own time. Patience. Another is courage, an attitude of confidence when facing the unknown. Courage. And the third is persistence, the determination to keep going no matter what happens. We have hope when we can say, all will be well, and we mean it. Persistence. Patience, courage, persistence. Each of these is a spiritual practice in itself, one that can be practiced alone or with others. They are good to add to our spiritual workout if we want the endurance that will sustain us. So far we have strength of both conviction and compassion, we have flexibility, and we have endurance. Next is coordination. What would it mean to be spiritually coordinated? Well, let's back up and think about coordination in physical fitness. I tend to think of the skills, right? How to swing a bat, where to stand in pickleball, how to tee off. So spiritually, what are the skills we need to develop?
I think it might mean developing the skills to go out into the world and balance our values and our convictions with reality. I know, that stinks, but reality is reality. I mean, a pitcher has the skill for a fastball and a curveball. They still have to decide which one they're going to use on the next pitch. Even among our values, we have to make decisions. Sadly, we can rarely have it all. And sometimes we will need to make decisions, sometimes in the moment. So let's play with an example. A person has just treated us badly. Is this the time to demand better treatment on principle? Or is this a time to wonder what has happened in this person's day or life to make them so unpleasant in this moment? The answer isn't the same every time. So many factors come into this equation. Different people might make different choices. We might make different choices on different days. As a minister, I have often found myself suddenly and unexpectedly in a situation where I have to make a quick decision about my reaction. This is, by the way, why I think all ministers should have improv training. I actually think it would benefit everyone. A key technique in improv is that when your scene partner does something, you respond with yes and. Yes to what they just did, and what can you add to it? So how do we say yes and in the moment? For example, someone is yelling at us at coffee hour about something. Yes. And I want to hear about, excuse me. Yes, I want to hear what you're upset about. And it is very hard to do that when you are yelling quite so loud. Yes, I hear you yelling at me, and I'm wondering what you are really mad about. We can't control another person, but we have a lot of control over our response. Sometimes people say that Unitarian Universalists try not to offend anyone. And I guess it's true to a certain degree. I hope we don't go out of our way to offend. I hope we remember that we can disagree without being disagreeable. But I also hope that we try just as much not to be offended. I think this is part of being spiritually coordinated. To know that everything that happens isn't about us, isn't about me, that other person's seemingly offensive remark or behavior is most likely about them. I don't need to feel angry or otherwise upset. I think part of being coordinated, of juggling, if you will, is being able to take a remark, especially a critical remark, and consider it, decide, is there anything I can take from this, and leave the rest. So let's try another situation. Suppose I bring a dish for potluck. You remember potlucks, yes? I notice that Sally doesn't take any of my dish. I can conclude Sally hates me and won't eat my food. Or I could conclude I am a terrible cook. Or I can conclude that Sally doesn't like cashews, which she can see are in the dish. Or Sally is allergic to cashews. Or Sally overloaded her plate earlier in the buffet line and there's no room on her plate for my dish. Or even Sally sees that there's not much left and is leaving it for the person behind her in line who she happens to know loves cashews. So many possibilities, yet we so often assume, and too often the worst. Being spiritually coordinated means being able to entertain many possibilities. So maybe I decide to ask Sally about her choices. And she notes that she didn't choose my dish because she knows I like to use a lot of spice and that doesn't agree with her. I hadn't even thought of that one. Should I be offended that Sally doesn't like my spice? One of the things our coordination allows us to do is consider our options. We could be offended, right? Or I can notice that plenty of other people like it and continue to make the dish the way I like it. Or I can consider the possibility that, for potlucks at least, I could make my dishes with a little less spice so that more people can enjoy them. Heck, I could even put a little extra spice on the side. The point is that there is nuance available. And I personally think the world would be a better place if a little more nuance was used a little more often. I mean, if a simple choice at a potluck has this many possibilities, think about the possibilities in more consequential areas of our lives. Think about the possibilities on the national or world stage. So we have strength of conviction and of compassion. We have flexibility to keep us limber and our minds open. We have endurance to keep us going. We have coordination that allows us to respond to all that we encounter as we make our way through life. Lastly, we need balance. My morning stretches and evening Tai Chi are supposed to help with that in my physical life. What are some ways we can find balance in our spiritual lives? I think of meditation, prayer, therapy, laughing, good friends. There's so many things that help us keep our perspective on the world and life. I have often associated the recently concluded month of Ramadan in the Islamic tradition with helping people return to balance. Personally, I also find balance in the serenity prayer, right? That third line. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Balance. So many ways to tend to ourselves and the world. If we will stay healthy, we will need to find time to do the things that keep us on an even keel. Each of us will have our own balance. Whatever it is, it's important to find and maintain. Now, my physical workout is different from my husband's. I like the treadmill. He likes to walk outdoors. I like weight machines. He likes free weights. I like to stretch on my own. He likes yoga. You have your preferences with regard to your physical health. It's all good. The same is true for our spiritual lives. Some of us relish engaged and lively dialogue and debate. Some of us like prayer or meditation. Some of us garden or knit or paint or cook. We read different things. We have different support systems. We're nourished in different ways. So many ways to center ourselves. So many ways to nurture healthy connections with ourselves, those closest to us, and the wider world. Here in this fellowship, there isn't one right way. There is support for each person finding their own way. So what do you do? What strengthens your convictions? What boosts your compassion? How do you maintain a flexible attitude? And how coordinated are you at the obstacle course of life? And how do you take time to regain your balance? Each of these things can help to ground you and can ease and enrich your connections to that beyond you. Each can restore spiritual health, can nurture beauty from the inside out. Each can give you a radiant glow, the warmth and light that guides your way and tells others, here is someone I can talk with, be with, travel this journey of life with. May it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Kathy. That was a lot of wonderful information and helpful information. I could have used a couple days ago when I was being cranky. Anyway, thank you. Now we move to our offering. In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation, may be offered online. There are several ways you can give. You can drop your donation in the baskets that are passed around by the greeters. If you're here, but we're not here today, and for those that are here, you are new. So if you're here for the first time, don't feel obligated to give. Your presence is our gift. We're also equipped to accept donations through the Venmo app, and if you do that, the app should be made to Uufcc offering. And as always, your generosity is deeply appreciated. Thank you. We're now going to have some recorded music by When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Words and music are by Joyce Poley, recorded during services at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Grafton in Upton, Massachusetts. Thank you.
When our heart is in the holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts is within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy
Now it is time to highlight UUFCC's special events and activities. Please remember to check your weekly updates online, which include a calendar and links for connecting via Zoom or in person. Additionally, if you'd like to have fellowship events highlighted during the service, you can send it to us worship associates at the Book of Life at uufcc.org. Today I have the following announcements. Following the service, hopefully I can get home on time, Reverend Kathy will be on Zoom, the Universal Link, doing a communication workshop for us, part 1. So you're all welcome to do that 11:45. Also, May 21st is Emancipation Day. At Blanchard House, they're doing a celebration from 12 to 2, May 21st, and it no longer conflicts with the humanist meeting, which has been canceled due to the COVID issues. Blanchard House is the African American History Museum in Punta Gorda. Wonderful place if you haven't been there. Finally, our small groups are still meeting in person. The healing conversations will be this week, and they are all masked in order to be here inside. We now move to our closing words, Where There Is Beauty by Reverend Karen Johnston. What to do with beauty, or joy for that matter, in the midst of tragedy, of violence, and of cruelty? What do we do with the living? Give each other their due? Do not lose ourselves in any of it, but find ourselves anew. Where there is beauty, amplify it. Where beauty is hidden, reveal it. Where beauty is ruined, restore it. Where beauty is absent, create it. This will be our gift to our aching world. Jackie will now extinguish the chalice, and we have some words for Chalice Extinguishing by Deborah Burrell called Kindle New Sparks. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let us carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. Please join us for Go Now in Peace by the Uufcc Choir.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Everywhere you may go.